Welcome back, everybody. So today we're here to talk about the last issue of the Walking Dead comic books. Yes, the comic book has officially ended. The rumors came out earlier this week. I made a video about it, but today the issue did come out, and it was announced that it is the final issue. Now we're gonna get into the comics and talk about what happened. So if you haven't read the issue, a spoiler warning, but we're gonna talk about it. So I mean, this is a big issue. It's like 80 pages, so it's a big read, but it's worth it. Let me just tell you, it's a great issue. I really liked it. But with that being said, let's get into this. So yeah, it was the last issue, like I said, 193, and there are things in there that I really did like, which we're gonna talk about. So again, if you haven't read the issue and you want to go check it out and come back to this video, I get it. But we're not gonna talk too much about plot points. I'm just mostly gonna be talking about like the issue as a whole, and now that it's ended, where does it go from here and how it might affect the TV show. So we're going to discuss all that, but the issue picks up with a big time jump. Carl's a grown man with a daughter and he's married, so like it's a big time jump, and it's like this whole new world we're thrown into. And part of this new world is that the walkers are becoming like extinct. There's not that many walkers left. And earlier this week, the letter hack got released early, kind of leaked or something. And in the letter hack, Robert Kirkman said that the world is even possibly better than it was before, and the world is fixed. So I was kind of curious as to what that meant, and now we know that it meant that there aren't that many walkers remaining. The walkers are clearing out, and the world is becoming normal again. They didn't really mention if there was like a cure or anything like that. That would be interesting if there was. I don't think there was a cure. I think it's just like that so much time has passed that the walkers are slowly dying. And that's something that people have even mentioned on the TV show and just in general, like, so much time has passed, but when the walkers start to decay and, start going extinct, like and it looks like it did happen in the comics. I'm assuming that just because it didn't mention a cure, it could be, but they just didn't mention it. But I'm going to go ahead and say that it's because so much time has passed that the walkers are slowly dying off. Because the issue picks up with a walker on its way to where Carl is staying, and Carl kills the walker. It's like one single walker, and he starts like freaking out because he's like, where did this walker come from? It's been years. So it really, like, they haven't been seen that much, so that was really shocking to see and really cool. And we did learn what's been going on with the remaining walkers. So there's like a show going, they've built like a whole civilization, and there's like a town, and there's shows and carnivals, and there's like a show with walkers, and people go and see the walkers because they're so rare. And there's like this little plot throughout the issue that Carl and the guy running the show, like, they're going back and forth because Carl wants all the walkers gone. Some people want the walkers to stay there because they're rare. So there's like this big issue going on around this town, and it sort of reminded me of like Jurassic World, like one of the newer ones, the one that came out in 2015, because the same thing sort of happened there, where they had this whole place where people went to go visit the dinosaurs, like taking something dangerous from one generation and making it fun for the next. That's what they're kind of doing here with these walkers, and it makes sense why Carl would be upset about this, because he's seen what these walkers have done. He grew up with these walkers. So I did like how they added that. It kind of made it realistic and cool. I did like that, and I never really thought of it like that, but that's what kind of makes the most sense, because if things are if these walkers are dying out and there's not that many left and they're really rare to find, there's always going to be those people who are interested and doesn't want the walkers to all be gone, and it just makes sense. So I did like how Robert Kirkman put that into the story. And seeing like all the characters like sort of like old was a bit sad. Like, we saw Eugene and some of the other characters, and they're all living in their own like little corners, and they, like I said, they built this whole huge civilization, and people are doing their everyday life. Like, this is sort of like a normal life. There's a court and judges and jail. Like, there's so much, like, this is like the real world again. So that's what I think he meant when he said the world is fixed, because the world is slowly going back to what it was before. And I think bittersweet is the best way to put it, because like I said, it was sad seeing some of the characters old and seeing the story come to an end, but also a lot of the characters were really happy, which is really nice. And it was a happy ending for the world, really. Like, everybody was pretty much happy, so I did like that. Rick also got brought up like a lot throughout the issue, which obviously makes sense because he started it all. And it looked like, you know, with the show, they aren't ending it with Rick's exit. Well, Rick is going to come back in the movies, but for the comics, Robert Kirkman said that it ends with Rick, and he did end it with Rick. So it did make sense why he would want to end it, but so obviously he got brought up a lot throughout the issue. And one thing specifically I liked was when Carl's protecting his dad and telling this guy that, you know, everyone is alive because of him. And that relates to both the show and the comic, because a lot of people blame Rick for when other people die, but it's not really his fault. And, you know, Carl brought up this thing saying that, you know, all these people here are alive because of Rick, and no one really talks about that. Like, yeah, people die along their journey, but, you know, look at all the people who survived. Look at everything that's happened in this world that's destroyed. Like, that's all due to Rick, really. Like, I mean, yes, everybody works together, but he's the, you know, the leading man. So I liked how he brought that up, because it does relate to both the show and the comic. Because I do remember some people during like the Negan arc on the TV show, people were blaming Rick constantly, like even for Glenn and Abraham dying, which I guess, you know, blaming someone would just be the easy thing to do. I mean, even some of the characters were blaming Rick, so it's not just like, you know, people, but, you know, I just like what Carl brought up, because it makes sense. Like, everything else that happened good is because of him also. You know, he brought all these people together and they worked together to create this, really. And then speaking of Rick, there was also like a statue of Rick, which, I mean, I was writing things down while I was reading the issue for this video, and when the Rick statue came up, all I wrote down was the Rick Grimes statue was awesome. Like, it was so cool seeing that. And he's really like an icon in this universe, and I just love that statue. And you could say that things really escalated in the comics. Like, this ending was really abrupt, really. And, you know, it ended, that Commonwealth storyline like really quickly just turned, and now it's the end. Like, we were in the middle of the Commonwealth, and now it's the end of, you know, the series. But there were little things in there that they added that we can sort of piece together what happened. Like, there was a moment in the issue where the Commonwealth was agreeing with Carl. That kind of tells us that they put their differences aside, and I did like moments like that, because we were just in the Commonwealth storyline, and then boom, you know, now that's ending. So it just really, it came real quick. I also really like the ending for Michonne. Michonne is now a judge in this universe, and that makes sense, because before the apocalypse she was an attorney, so it just came back all around, and I thought that was a good end for her. Also, she has her daughter, she's a grandma, because her daughter has a daughter now, which was, again, it's like a big time jump, so things are totally different. So I was happy Michonne had a good ending, and her and Carl had this good moment at the end between them, and honestly it was so sad seeing it come to an end, but you know, it was bittersweet, and I'm happy that the characters are happy now. And then speaking of endings, when it came to Carl's ending, I love that. He was sitting on a rocking chair reading to his daughter, and he was reading his book, which told the story of Rick Grimes and how the world, you know, how the apocalypse started. And I thought that was so cool. I loved this so much. And honestly, after reading this issue, I would love to see something like this come to life on a TV show. Obviously, Carl isn't there anymore, and I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't even, like, they might not even do it. They might do their own ending, but I really like this ending. I thought it was a real good ending for the characters in the comics, and just that ending with Carl reading, you know, the book about his father to his daughter in the chair. I just love that so much. But yeah, and that's how the issue ended. That's how the Walking Dead series has ended. 16 years strong, it has finally ended. But who knows, maybe down the road they might do like a spin-off. I could definitely see Robert Kirkman doing like a spin-off comic or something. He's already done spin-off comics with, here's Negan and stuff like that. So he could do that. Maybe he could, 5-10 years in the future, he could do something where we catch up with the characters and see what's going on. Who knows? I think there's still a lot more story to be told in the Walking Dead universe. Obviously for the TV show, that's for certain, but even for the comics, I think if he wanted to, he could tell a story in some, spin-off version of the comics. I also really like the letter hack part of the comic where he there's a couple pages where he talked about the ending and how he felt, and he even addressed a thing that I liked. He said that he even publicly said before that it was going to be like 300 issues, where he had like plans for 300 issues. But soon as the story was progressing, he saw that there's no this ending. He said he had this ending in mind where Carl was reading to his daughter in a chair. Like he had that ending years ago. But when he sat down and thought about it, he was like, "There's no way I could make it to 300 issues. He would just be like milking out stories after stories, which really wouldn't be that good." And that's why he kind of ended it like this. And I'm okay with that, because I think that's better to end it now with the ending he had in mind, rather than just putting a bunch of crap in the middle of it. You know what I mean? So I am happy the way he ended it, and looking at it, like he would have to do like 100 more issues, so that's a lot. So I'm happy he decided to end it on a good note rather than just milking it out. But yeah, that is where the Walking Dead comics ends after 16 years. It's pretty crazy. So if you did read the issue, let me know your thoughts and opinions about this, because this is big. So what did you think about the ending? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Would you like to see something like this on the show? Because the show AMC is going their own direction with the Walking Dead, but I would like to see some sort of similar ending for the main show, when it comes to an end finally. So I think that main show will come to an end eventually. There will be other spin-offs, just like in the comics. I think there'll be other spin-offs, but I would like to see something like this happen on TV. So you guys let me know in the comments down below, how are you feeling about this? But I am going to wrap it up there for this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to leave a like rating, and for more Walking Dead content just like this, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.